ride back was definitely faster.
Well, I mean, you weren't doing as much sightseeing the way back.
No. Pretty much the only time I stopped was in Honduras for some volunteer work. And then I visited two friends that I made on the way down in Mexico, one in Mexico City and one in the north of Mexico. Other than that, in Central America, it was a country a day.
What would you say to somebody who was thinking about a trip like this?
I would say it's not as hard and it's not as complex as you might think, and that it doesn't necessarily depend a lot on having a lot of money as much as it does having the time and the wherewithal to do it, or even the motorcycle you have. We met guys that were riding liter bike pluses, big KTM bikes, big BMWs. We met a guy that was on a 90cc Honda scooter that started in Alaska over a year and a half ago. And so, you know, you can do it on any kind of bike, and just about any kind of person can do it. I think it's just really the matter of having the desire to put yourself out there and take some of those risks, but they really aren't that big of risks, and be willing to accept kind of the adventure that might be in store for you when you set foot outside of what's comfortable and what's known to you. For me, the worst experience was within the first week of the trip, when I crashed my bike in Baja and just about broke my ankle, and we were stuck in the tiny city of Guerrero Negro for a week while I waited for my ankle to heal enough to keep moving, and then limped for a good amount and wasn't running for a good month and a half after that. And so to have that happen so soon in the trip, when we still were very fresh and didn't have a lot of miles under our belt, for me it was an ill omen to have that happen to me so early on. But luckily, that was the most severe setback that I had, or really either of us had, the entire trip. Probably the oddest things that we had were the chapulines, the fried grasshoppers in Mexico, or the cuy, the guinea pig in Ecuador, which, as is their custom, they typically prepare with the head and everything still intact on it. And as one might think that it would taste like chicken, it has a flavor reminiscent of chicken, but definitely also has a bit of its own flavor that takes some getting used to.
How is America perceived as you went? Americans perceived in South America?
I think that everywhere we went, people were generally friendly to us. In some places, I think culturally they just tended to be more open and welcoming than in others. I think that Colombia, of all the countries, was probably the most open as far as just friendly people that would approach you and want to know what you were doing and make you feel welcome there. We also had very similar experiences in Mexico. But that said, I would say in pretty much every country that we went to, they were interested in what we were doing and had curiosity about where we were from and where we had been and where we were going. If I had to do it again, I think, there's that saying that the more you know, the less you carry. And similar to how I've learned over the years in doing my backpacking, if I was to travel on a motorcycle again, I would probably maybe take a slightly smaller bike, or if not a smaller bike, at the very least be taking less equipment and just trying to travel more lean and more simply to give myself a little bit greater freedom of not carrying so much with me. There's also the days where you turn a corner on a mountain pass and you look out in front of you and you see just this spellbinding landscape that the only thing that really pulls your eye away from it is having to look down on the road and keep from going off the cliff on your bike. And so it's a mixture of big moments like that and little moments, little social interactions that you can't plan for, you can't expect. You just kind of have to welcome them as they come along and appreciate them for what they are.
When you when you went as far south as you could go, what was your feeling?
For me, I think it was a mixed experience of thinking this is the farthest point from home I'm going to be, and just appreciating just how far we'd come together on those bikes, and just the beautiful surroundings too. The southern portion of Argentina is just captivating landscape, and the other half of the feeling was, well, I came this far, now I have to drive it all the way back. So it was a sense of completion and meeting a goal, but it was also a sense of and now there's this other step, this other phase, the return, which is going to be its own experience that awaits me.